Hi folks, welcome back to We the People. I'm Dave Gallus, your host, and our sponsor is 3A Research here in Las Cruces. They still have some openings for the plaque psoriasis study they're doing. You can reach them by calling them at 575-288-1646 or go to 3asites.com. So today our special guest is Eloy Francisco Macha. Now, Eloy, welcome to the show.
Dave, thank you.
You're a candidate for Las Cruces Public School District 3.
That is correct.
And you've come all the way from South America just to run for school district.
Exclusively only for the school district. That is correct, Dave.
It just took a while to get there, I'm sure.
Yes.
So, can you please tell us your interesting story? Now, but before we go any further, School District 3 is basically the southern and eastern part of the city. So, okay, so tell us your story from South America, how you got here.
No, Dave, again, appreciate the invite to your show. Thank you so much for this. I was born in Peru, actually, back in the 70s, if you will. What's interesting about my upbringing in Peru and the decisions that led us to here was tied to my parents, actually. Yeah. My mom and my dad, in the early 80s, after my brother was born, they stepped back and took an assessment as to where Peru was at the time and where it was headed.
The politics of it? The
politics, the society, the situation. A little bit of history on Peru. Between 1960 and 1970, Peru actually was run by a military junta. There was a coup that occurred in the early 60s, late 50s. And in 1980, if you will, an election occurred. And the government that was elected had some interesting ideas of where to take Peru. My parents disagreed with that direction. So they looked and assessed as to where opportunities existed, where they could take their family, that is myself and my brothers, so that we could have those interesting opportunities that they themselves had in growing up.
Okay.
So in doing that, my parents looked at Mexico and the United States. An opportunity showed up in Mexico. And my dad, with his engineering background, he took that and basically relocated all of us. My mom, my brothers, my little brother, at the time he was less than 10 months old. And just packed as much as we can in our suitcases. Everything, anything we had was there, and we moved to Mexico. So this was early 80s. What was interesting about that experience, though, Mexico, my dad realized, wasn't necessarily the right place for his family. So he took that on him to figure out what really would be the best opportunities for my brothers, myself, and also for my mom. After 2 years of living in Mexico, they made a very strong and tough decision that they were immigrating to the United States.
Wow. Now, so your dad went from Peru because of politics and other issues. He moved to Mexico, to another country, but always the focus seemed to be on the family. So then he's moving to the United States. And yourself, your dad was an engineer.
That is correct.
You went from South America. You got a degree at New Mexico State in electrical engineering. I don't mean to jump ahead, but it's very impressive to me. So, okay, so now you're moving to the United States. Where did you land in the United States?
So we landed in Douglas, Arizona.
That's a border town.
It is a border town, actually.
Okay.
A border with Agua Prieta, Sonora. Okay. And in there, what was great about that is, we looked at that for us as kids, right? Myself and my brothers. It wasn't necessarily a strange experience because there's a lot of Spanish speakers, there's a lot of Hispanics there, a lot of Mexicans. So we, if you will, kind of fit there. But at the same time, though, we saw and started to see the opportunities that this country started to provide us as little kids. The first one was, of course, learning English.
Okay.
So it was great. Just a quick little side story. I remember very vividly when I was in second grade, third grade, that I would always be thinking in Spanish. And then one day I started thinking in English. And call it those little things, but being that planted the seed about, hey, let's learn more and more about this country.
Right, the country you're living in.
My parents made a huge investment in the World Book Encyclopedias. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, I did. We had a set ourselves.
And my dad, bless his soul, he encouraged us. Hey, there's a lot of knowledge in these books. And here I am, the bookworm, from third grade all the way to eighth grade. Look at any little subject and then just start reading. Understand that this was before internet. This was before Google.
Sure.
This was before anything.
Sure.
So I'm very grateful that my parents make those investments to encourage us that, hey, let's learn.
You had a strong family.
A strong family that pushed us to be thirsty for knowledge.
That's great.
That's great. So that was Douglas, Arizona. For there, just a quick little aside there. Being part of Douglas, Arizona was great, but my parents, because they were immigrating and they wanted to do this the right way.
Mm-hmm.
We went the student visa routes. We went, the right path to get our U.S. residency.
Right.
The school district at the time basically told my parents, yeah, okay, you're welcome to participate in the school district. Your kids are welcome to go to elementary school, middle school here, but you're going to have to pay tuition. So there was no quote, free education for us at the time.
Wow.
So
well, that's fair.
It is fair, but what's interesting, right? Fast forward to where we are today.
Oh no,
it's
a
an
freebie.
interesting item.
I hear you.
So with that context in mind, my parents actually looked at our education as an investment. And in doing that, they invested in us going into a parochial school in Douglas, Arizona.
I had the same thing. We had to pay because we went to Catholic school.
Right.
Public school would have been free, but my folks put out the extra money to go to Catholic school, investing in our future.
And on that point, comparing and contrasting the school system that Douglas provided through this tuition for public school versus the parochial, my parents opted to go, well, we're going to invest in the parochial student. And that aligned really well with also our faith.
Would you say your parents were rich?
No, not at all. Not at all.
But yet they found the money for your education.
Talk about sacrifices and learning what sacrifices is all about. My parents were not rich, and I don't consider ourselves wealthy or rich at all. No silver spoons here. We wore hand-me-downs. Mm-hmm. We went to the thrifty stores. Mm-hmm. We have very limited means. A big treat was every 3 months we would go to a Burger King. Wow. Every 3 months, every 4 months. As a big treat.
Sounds like your folks handled money well.
Very much so. Very much so, to the T. And I remember, growing up that was one of the tensions, between my parents. It's like, let's just make sure that we have. Because my dad recognized that it's not just about getting here, and it's not just about kicking off the immigration process to become U.S. residents.
Right.
It's about setting this foundation so that his kids, in this case my brothers and myself, would be able to go to a good college. Right. Would be able to afford and live up, be exposed to those opportunities provided by that education. Uh-huh. So that's where, if you will, we say money pinching, but it's really about being very considerate of your financial means. Sure. And investing in that future for your kids.
That's being fiscally responsible. And I don't think our kids nowadays do that or even understand that.
Not just our kids, but it's a lost art, if you will. Sure. There's a lot of families that struggle with that.
Sure. Well, compound interest works. If you have a credit card, the compound interest is on you. You have to pay extra. But if you save money, that compound interest works for you as well. So they kind of miss that.
There's a balancing around that.
I hear you.
It is. Now, to kind of wrap up a little bit of that background, Douglas, Arizona was all great and good, finished up to 8th grade, and then towards the late 80s, my parents decided to move to Utah.
Okay.
In this case, Sandy, Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, one of those small little cities out of Salt Lake. Again, my dad, leveraging his engineering degree, he ended up working over there in one of the in Kennecott copper mines. So that was an interesting perspective and shift. And now going from Douglas, Arizona, border town, to Sandy, Utah, and Utah. So talk about now, and with that, I'm so sorry, we looked at, we are enrolled in public school system. The public school system in Utah actually was very, very interesting in that it had a lot of opportunities for all students. So Utah at the time, the demographics was mostly Americans, Anglo-Americans, and there's some minorities, Samoans, Hispanics, African Americans, and whatnot. But it was an equal playing field. Okay. If you were able to, go for it.
Everybody had the same opportunity.
By all means, and this was what's great. A quick little side story around that is in middle school, 9th grade, I'm so sorry, I had formulated a plan that by high school, by my senior year, I wanted to complete calculus. Because I did feel that, hey, having that calculus under my belt would open up some interesting opportunities in college. And so I worked it backwards. This is where my brothers helped, my dad helped. It meant that in 9th grade, I needed to take Algebra 2. Okay. So I enrolled in Algebra 2. You're able to do that. So I submitted my registration. I showed up first day of school, went to the Algebra 2 class. Then all of a sudden, here comes the secretary from the office saying, hey, Francisco Macha, we need you to talk downstairs to the vice principal. We have a question. Okay. I remember talking to the vice principal. He said, I understand that you want to be in Algebra 2, but shouldn't you be in Algebra 1? Well, no, I believe I can do Algebra 2. And he looked at me, like, okay. So he signed it off. But this is that first example of saying, hey, I want to pursue this. and now I'm going to pursue it. And it was interesting, that conversation.
You had a vision.
No, where I wanted to be myself.
Okay.
So, I mean, the other option would have been to cower and say, okay, you're right, Mr. Vice Principal. But
Okay.
no, so that was really interesting.
Now, you've had opportunities. You could have gone to Utah State because you were living in Utah. You could have gone to Texas Tech in Lubbock, but you chose New Mexico State University. Why is that?
No, that's a great question, right? So, graduating from high school, it opened up some other interesting opportunities. And it actually helped me understand that, hey, I don't just have to live here where my parents are. Now I can pursue where my passion is, where my degrees are. So that my senior year, I was oscillating. Hey, maybe I should be a lawyer. Maybe I should study some other interesting things.
I'm glad you're not a lawyer.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. No, so engineering actually is in our blood, if you will. My dad is an engineer.
Yeah, sure.
My brothers are engineers.
You like math?
I love math.
Yeah.
So looking at Lubbock, Texas, looking at Utah State, and looking at NMSU, all of them afforded really good programs. I'm not going to deny that.
Mm-hmm.
What tilted to NMSU was actually my dad. He graduated from NMSU back in 1968.
Ah.
So he had an interesting experience of being a student here in the United States in the late 60s.
He graduated in 68.
That is
I
correct.
went to Mexico State University in 69. I only lasted 2 semesters because I was interested in socializing. But that's interesting.
No, it's interesting. Small little world.
Yeah.
But because of that, he encouraged us, myself, my brothers, my brothers, to, hey, pursue an engineering degree at NMSU. It's a good school. And it is.
Right.
New Mexico State University is one of the top-notch college of engineering universities that are out there. So a great program.
I've heard that. Okay. But you weren't a citizen when you were going through school and going to college, right?
That is absolutely correct.
So what changed? What happened? Why did you want to become a citizen?
No, and that's a great question. When we came here to NMSU, 19 years old, fresh-eyed, kind of seeing a little bit of everything, if you will. I was very fortunate, actually, to meet my future wife, Sandra.
Wow.
We were both students, both 19 years old, and it's crazy how life works, how, call it fate or that plan, if you will.
Well, I don't even say coincidence anymore. It's minor miracles to me.
That's what they are. So if you will, our family started while we were both at school. We were both college students. At the age of 20, our daughter was born.
Nice.
So that actually started bringing a lot of things back home. It's like, okay, why are you here? What's your purpose?
Right.
Now, with regards to being a U.S. resident and a U.S. citizen, this is something that my parents kind of allowed us to, kind of figure out on our own.
So you didn't have to be a U.S. citizen. It was your choice.
And that's perfectly the conversation that I had with my parents. They instilled in us, you have choices, Frank.
Right.
You don't have to be either a U.S. resident or a U.S. citizen. You can go back to Peru. So it's on you. And whenever you're ready, make that decision. So at the age of 20, I wasn't ready to make that decision. But my daughter being born did give me that perspective that, hey, there is this beautiful life in front of me that now needs direction, guidance. And it was an interesting journey from 1994, the moment that she was born, up until the early 2000s, of really understanding what this country was all about. Now, being a parent, now starting to say, okay, what voice do I have?
Right.
As a U.S. resident, you don't really have a whole lot of voices.
And you're not just responsible for yourself. It's your family.
Exactly.
We're going to take a short break and then come back. When we do, we'll continue this conversation. So, folks, stand by. We'll be back after a short break. And remember, 3A Research is doing clinical studies on plaque psoriasis. Give them a call at 575-288-1646. We'll be back in a short minute. Hi folks, I'm Dave Gallus. This is your 3A Research Minute. We're here with CEO Michael Raucci of 3A Research here in Las Cruces. Michael, could you tell me the procedure of a trial?
Sure, Dave. A participant will come to our office to see if they qualify for a study. Once they qualify for a study, they will be asked to do evaluations throughout the course of a 3-month period or longer, and they'll come in periodically to see their progress and make sure they're safe and they're okay.
Michael, could you tell us the location here in Las Cruces? Where is that?
We are located in the heart of Las Cruces, 530 North Telshore Boulevard, Suite B. We have 2 locations in El Paso, and we've done so well, we had to extend ourselves here to this great community. So far, Las Cruces has been very responsive, and we love Las Cruces, so we're excited to be here.
Thanks, Michael. I hope the folks take advantage of this opportunity. That's been your 3A Research Minute here in Las Cruces. See you next time.
If your loved one has passed away due to COVID-19, pay close attention to this message. You could be entitled to a death benefit of over $300,000. The U.S. government has set up a fund to pay families relief if they've lost a loved one due to COVID-19. The compensation includes a death benefit and lost wages benefit. Time is limited, so we urge you to make a free phone call right now. There's no cost to you for this claim. That's 866-372-3669.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Do you suffer from rashes, dryness, flakiness, and thickness to the skin? 3A Research is conducting a trial of an investigational drug on plaque psoriasis. Subjects must be 18 years of age or older. This is an 8-week study. We will compensate you for your time and travel up to $225.
Enrolling participants now in Las Cruces. Contact our office at 575-288-1646 or visit our Facebook page at 3A Research or our website 3asites.com.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to We the People. I'm Dave Gallus, your host. We're here with special guest Eloy Macha. He's running for School Board District 3
Yes, sir.
here in Las Cruces. Eloy, you were talking about how you became a U.S. citizen and why you became a U.S. citizen. Just a little refresh is, when you started raising a family, it was important to you to consider what your options were and what you wanted for your family.
That is absolutely great, Dave. And in that case, I started noticing that, hey, I need to start speaking up and standing up for my family. Mm-hmm. My family at the time was Sandra and my daughter. Our son was born late 90s, 1998, and even more so that accelerated that, hey, Francisco and Sandra, both of us, what is it that we need to do for our family? Mm. In the early 2000s, it became very clear to me that having a U.S. residency alone was not going to be sufficient to be successful in this country.
Just being a resident?
Correct.
Okay.
Because at the time I didn't have a passport, and I couldn't participate in a lot of the civic aspects of this country. Via voting, having my voice heard or whatnot. But yet I still...
A lot of people take that for granted.
They do.
And that's so sad.
That is so sad. So I kicked off that process to become a citizen. And yes, it was a refresher in a lot of civics, history 101, if you will, and really government 101, what the foundations of this country is. And a lot of that actually was refreshing to reread again. Even though I was exposed to that in high school or in middle school, understanding the Declaration of Independence, understanding the Constitution, understanding how this government works, was very refreshing to reread again.
Well, I hope you folks are listening to this. This is a fellow that came from Peru, engineering degree, could have been just a resident, but he became a citizen. He knows the Constitution. Now, I question, how many of us know the Constitution? So
No, and it's not just about knowing the Constitution. Oh, if you allow me, Dave.
Absolutely.
In 2005, when I became a citizen, I took this oath. If you allow me to please. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely, entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have therefore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by the law, that I will perform non-combatant services in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, so help me God.
Wow.
Dave,
Wow.
the allegiance to the Constitution of the laws, bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
Wow.
Those are powerful words. And it's interesting, us immigrants, when we take this oath, when we read that, it hits close to home of what
That
we're
must
doing.
feel wonderful.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, it just becomes that much more, wow, this is great. I mean, allow me to kind of weave a little bit of a side note into this. There's something to be said about those that study, call it a religion for the first time, that convert from one religion to the other, that they are now enamored with the possibilities of what that brings to them. When I studied the Constitution, when I studied the Declaration of Independence, when I took this oath, I fell in love with this country. Yeah. And I will do everything, anything to defend this Constitution, to defend this country.
Wow.
And,
I wish I could say that of all our citizens. I think we get lazy. We don't really engage. We think that the government can handle things for us, which they can't. The government is only set up because they are our representatives, because we are such a massive number of people. But we, the people, my show name, that's what it's all about. We are supposed to control our government, and our government is out of control.
Well,
so
we are the government.
Yes, we are.
Dave, and we need to be reminded of that.
And that's why you're running for school board, because you feel as though the school system is out of control. You want to help make a change. Yes. So you had mentioned before, we talked off air, Albuquerque, Dallas, and Fort Worth, and Denver. They're pivotal points for you. Could you tell me about that?
No, but by all means, I appreciate that. So when we, after graduating from NMSU, we moved to Albuquerque for a little bit to pursue my career in technology. 6 months later, we realized that Albuquerque maybe wasn't the best place for us. So we then pursued an opportunities in Dallas-Fort Worth area for both myself and Sandra. 13 years in living in Dallas-Fort Worth, it was great. We were able to raise our kids there. They have a good sense of what it means to be part of a great community that Dallas-Fort Worth afforded to us. And then we moved to Denver. What's interesting about Dallas-Fort Worth is it allowed us to start engaging more, so make that impact to our community. We got involved in our parish. We started some ESL classes alongside
ESL classes?
English as a second language classes for our community. We were part of the faith formation classes as well in our parish. So this is where we start, if you will, it began our journey to start giving back to our community.
Now the ESL classes, you were helping other people?
That is correct.
To learn English?
That is correct.
Come on, folks, listen to this. I mean, this is an immigrant coming from Peru, and you're helping out other people learning the English language. This is amazing.
It was great to be able to see that and actually see that impact in person, where 3 months, 6 months later, now they can actually interact with others. Wow. And in Denver, that was very pivotal, because now it brought to home, if you will, the faith aspect of our family, to grow into our faith in Denver.
Wow. Now, all through our conversation, what I hear is strong family values.
That is correct.
And I hear you mention your wife, Sandra, who I've met, very nice lady.
Yes.
I don't think I've met your children, but tell me about how your family, how solid it is for you, what it does for you, how it's influenced your decisions.
No, great question. I am so grateful for Sandra and the support that she has given me for the last 20 plus years. It feels like a lifetime.
I'm a very happily married man myself.
No. Between her and my two children, Nayeli and Pablo, talk about learning so much. Learning, who you are as a person, the impact that you have, the responsibilities that you have, but also helping each other grow. Sandra encourages me to be more than I am. We talked a little bit about this earlier, of being able to push each other.
Yeah,
to
you
be
think
more,
your limits, and then the people that love you and know you,
they know that you have more
better.
limits, exactly. So that's what I love about Sandra. I mean, she's great on that. With regards to my children, Nayeli and Pablo, what I've learned about them is not only to provide love and what true love really means, about love, but my gosh, they've taught me love for country, both are service members in our Army, here in the National Guard.
Wow.
They
Wow.
took an oath to this country on their own accord. Myself or Sandra did not push them on that. So talk about, parents teach their kids, but then lessons that we learn from our kids because of their directions and
Wow.
decisions.
You listening to this, folks? You're helping out your community. Your children are serving in the military. You chose to be a U.S. citizen. You did it the right way. You're helping other people become U.S. citizens. This is amazing. Well, let me ask you, why, after going through these cities, now you ended up settling in Las Cruces. Why Las Cruces?
That's a great question. So it's twofold. One, we graduated here from NMSU, proud Aggie.
Okay.
Go Aggies.
Okay. Yeah, the Cowboys.
There it is. So, but not only that, we felt that for our family, for Nayeli and Pablo more than anything, that Dallas and Denver were not necessarily the places that they would flourish or they would have the opportunities that they need. So we made that conscious decision, let's go back home. Las Cruces is our home.
Okay.
Even though we were immigrants. Myself, I'm from Peru. My wife, Sandra, she's from Mexico. Las Cruces is our home. So we wanted to instill that on our kids. Let's go back home and let's grow from here. So
Okay.
that's the motivation as to why Las Cruces.
Well, I also know that you're involved in the Hispanic Conservative Outreach Committee,
That is correct.
and that seems to be expanding as well. So you're engaged in other ways in your community as well, plus you're running for school board.
That is correct.
This is amazing. So, we're getting close to the end of the show. Is there anything you'd like to add or just expand a little bit? Because we're going to have a second show that's actually going to get into the mechanics of what you want to accomplish as a school board member.
That is correct.
But would you like to?
No, at the end of the day, it's really what are we called to do? Is that impact to community, impact to our society, impact to our families? And all of us can do that. So Dave, I'm a firm believer that each one of us are here for a purpose, for a reason. And myself and Sandra, we're here in Las Cruces for that reason. We want to have a positive impact in Las Cruces.
Well, I tell you, I hope the folks are listening to your story, and we're probably going to be a little sheepish about how lazy we've been and what we haven't been doing and what we can do. It's so important to engage in the local politics. I run for state senate. It's so important, and people don't realize the power they have. They have the power of the vote.
That is correct.
And the vote is the ultimate power. Now, that's provided that we have fair and honest elections, which I had a lawsuit in suing the county clerk, secretary of state, and a certain senator
Right.
because I don't feel we had fair elections. And nationally, I think that's being exposed. So, all right, Eloy, Francisco Macha, running for Las Cruces Public School Board District 3. I'm going to have you on next week, and we're going to talk about the mechanics of what you can do for our children in the public school system in Las Cruces and how you can fix it all.
I look forward to that, Dave.
All right.
Thank you so
Eloy,
much.
it's been a pleasure. Folks, we'll be back next week for part 2. Eloy Francis Macha, running for Las Cruces School Board District 3. See you next week.